أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله، والحمد لله الذي جعلني من أمتي سيد المرسلين خاتم النبيين طه وياسين أحمد محمود أبو القاسم محمد. ومن المحبين عطرة الطاهرين لعنة الدائمين من الآن إلى يوم الدين على أعدائهم. أما بعد، قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد وقوله الحق: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون. صلوات. Mu'mineen, every ayah of the Holy Quran pays tribute to Karbala, because in Karbala you find the essence of the entire Quran. Everywhere that you look, you will find. An ayah that I began with is something that truly epitomizes the spirit of giving in Karbala. لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون. That never shall you achieve righteousness unless you give something out of that which you love. It's not just giving anything. It's giving something that is precious to you. If you value your time, then that giving that time is bir. Normally it is thought when we talk about giving, we try and give the easiest thing that we want to give, and the easiest thing to give is advice. That is cheap, doesn't cost anybody anything. But when it comes to giving something that is valuable, then we think. If our president here were to make an announcement that we would like to send some warm clothes or clothes to some other part of the country where we can be of some help, you probably have bags full of old clothes that would come out of the closets, and this place would be full. We are so easy to give something that's lying in the closet that we don't wear anymore. But if you were asked to do exactly the same thing with the green things that we cherish, it becomes much more difficult. This is human nature. But giving something out of that which you love is indeed the way to going towards righteousness, towards bir. And once again, like the word falah is not just delivering, it's much more than that. It's prosperity, it's wellness. In fact, the word falah can be translated perhaps best in German when you say it's Weltunschang. It is something that's good in every way. In the same way, bir is not merely righteousness. It is righteousness with good deeds, with ikhlasun niyyah, with a pure niyyah. It's a combination of things to be able to get towards that level of bir. And Karbala epitomizes that idea of giving that was valuable. And then giving something that is valuable for a cause. The loftier the cause, the greater one's achievement. And indeed, what could have been a greater cause than the cause of Abu Abdullah Imam Hussain alayhi salam in Karbala, in terms of establishing a yardstick once and for all between what is right, between the truth, and what is evil, and what is falsehood. Salawat. Now, Mu'mineen, as we move through, we are part of that thought process and the ideology that was put forth at Karbala. It was for that reason, Mu'mineen. Imam Hussain alayhi salam, on the day of Ashur, stands up alone. His clothes are blood-stained with the bodies that he has lifted. His palms are with blood, the blood of baby Ali Asghar. Imam stands alone. And it is narrated that Imam stands up and gives that istaghasa of Hal min Nasirin Yansurna, not once, not twice, but 4 times. He turns, it is said, in 4 different directions and says, Hal min Nasirin Yansurna. Is there a helper out there who will help us? Who was he addressing, Mu'mineen? Those who had to give their lives had given their lives. Those who had followed this ayah of giving what they loved most, they gave. They are on their path of righteousness. And for those ladies and Imams in al-Islam who were behind, their trials and tribulations were yet to come. And when this istighasa is being called out, who was he addressing? He wasn't surely addressing the enemy out there, because he had recited the Quran. He had reminded them of everything. And apart from Hur and a few others who followed Janabi Hur, nobody moved their position. They were trying to earn dunya. So who was Imam calling out to? Mu'mineen, Imam was calling out to each and one of us. Indeed, the entire humanity who stands for justice, who stands for the truth. And this is the call that we answer when we stand here, when we sit here and do our azah. When we do our matam, that is a call that we are answering by our words. Mu'mineen, those words must also be combined with the deeds beginning with ourselves. Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Verily, Allah does not change the condition of a people unless they make that change within themselves. Mu'mineen, these tears that we shed to reach towards righteousness, the azah, is an agent of change. Just as a chemical reaction cannot begin without a catalyst, or our metabolism within our bodies cannot take place unless you have certain enzymes being present. It is this tear which begins because unless you feel emotionally about something, it's hard to be moved. The ethos and the pathos that we see, be it in plays, be it in movies, wherever we see, the people need to be moved through the idea of emotions. And the height of that emotion is to shed a tear for Abu Abdullah, which is what we sit here on this Fashaza. I quote Shahid Ustad Mutahari. He says, and I quote, if a tear that we shed for him should signify a harmony between our souls and his spirit. Look at the words he's using. This is the flight of our soul and the spirit of Imam Hussain al-Islam. It represents a brief flight that our spirit makes along with Hussein's spirit. Allahu Akbar. The idea of lifting ourselves. Maulana talked about the idea of the value of insan as to how far that insan can go. He can go lower than the lowest of the animals. He can go beyond the level of the angels. And this idea of that spirit, Mu'mineen, this is our legacy. And as we end this session of this Ashra, and with Arba'een, the day that passed, it was a difficult day. This is the day, as we will hear, is a day when the Kafilah departs from Medina and moves on towards the city of the Prophet. And therefore, this is a catalyst, a prescription for reform. How? If I can create, through this introspection and reflection and critical thinking, and use the time that we have, all the subjects that we have covered in the last 3 days, we can bring this all together. And today think about this and make that ahad with Abu Abdullah to say that, Ya Hussein, I did your matam. Ya Hussein, I listened to the best of Marcia and the Nawhas that I did. Ya Hussein, I listened to the speeches, and I promise you that my next Muharram will be a different Muharram than I had this time, and I will be a better person next Muharram than I have been this time. If I made that pact with Imam, in my own way, every human being knows the idea of their own shortcomings. You know, we have been gifted with several levels of nafs. One of them, as again was mentioned by Maulana here, to say nafs ammara. Is that nafs ammara that takes us towards the animalistic self, the quwwa shahawiyya and the quwwa ghazabiyya that I talked about. This nafs ammara that takes a person, he has also been given that level of nafs lawwama within himself. It is that self-blaming soul that recognizes the shortcomings within a human being. Nobody is perfect. Apart from the Masumeen, nobody can claim perfection. The best of the best will admit, if they are humble enough to admit, that every human being, save the Masumeen, cannot claim perfection. It's a matter of degree. We need to reach towards the level of least imperfection. Indeed, when we wait in the intizar of Imam Zamana Ajjalallahu Faraja Ta'ala, we are told that being muntazir, being those who wait for the Imam, should not just be sitting and saying, when the Imam will come, when the Imam will come. Mu'mineen, our responsibility and our duty in the ghaibah of our Imam is to try and create the least imperfect form of society that we can. This is our individual and collective responsibility to create a society which has the least amount of imperfections. That is our duty, because the perfect government, the perfect time will come upon the zuhur of Imam. But that is our responsibility to try and strive towards that. And Karbala and the tear that drops from our cheek, if it can become that enzyme or a catalyst for reform, then we will see that there will be a little glow of the valor of Abu Abdullah. We will see a particle of the free nature of the true understanding of Tawheed, to say that there is only one authority that I'll submit to, and that is the authority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the idea of the particle of free nature, a particle of his faith, just a drop of the taqwa that was shown by the companions in Abu Abdullah, and a small spark of Tawheed. If we can, through that spiritual flight, as the tears come out, if this becomes a part of transformation, to try and be the least imperfect individual that I can be, then indeed that tear has infinite value, and that becomes an agent of change. Salawat. So, inshallah, this will be a short one. We will not keep you for any longer than a few more minutes as we close this session. But the first thing I have to ask myself, I do that ahad with Abu Abdullah to say that yes, there will be a change in me. I promise, Ya Imam, that I will try and be a better person. How do we understand? What is Imam's expectation of us? What is his expectation of his Shia? Well, a man comes to Imam Hasnain alayhi salam and says, I am your Shia. And Imam said very clearly, very, very clearly, Imam said, never claim to be our Shia. These are words of a Masoom. Never claim to be one of our Shia, lest Allah on the day of judgment raise you amongst the liars. Allahu Akbar. The powerful statement. And then Imam goes on to explain. He says, no one can be our Shia except for a person whose heart is, and now let us enumerate. He said, whose heart is free of deceit. Free of deceit. Whose heart, so that he does not deceive himself or the others. It's sometimes harder to deceive others than yourself because you self-justify so many things to yourself. And you find a rationale. This is Quwwa Wahamiya, the power of imagination that a human being has, that he can so many times find excuses. Like Umar Khayyam was a great mind, a mathematician, all that he had, all that he had been blessed. And yet this was his Quwwa Wahamiya. He said he was fond of drink. And he said, it is in the knowledge of Allah that everything that I'm going to do is in the knowledge of Allah. And therefore it is in the knowledge of Allah that I will drink. Therefore if I do not drink now, then it will be a thing, or that this will be out of Allah's knowledge, and that would be some kind of a degradation of the stature of Allah. Therefore I must drink. This is Quwwa Wahamiya. Mirza Ghalib had a similar weakness of drinking. And then once he comes home, Ghalib was a great poet, gifted with great talents of words, the lucid pen that he had. But he had this weakness. So he comes home, laden with bottles of wine, nauzubillah. And when his wife asked him to say that, Mia, you have brought all this into the house, there is no food in the house. And there are people, as is well known, that there are people who owe us money. And he said, Begum, I have paid everyone. And he said, what about food? There is no food in the house. And he said, Begum, in Urdu he said, Allah ne rozi ka wa'da kiya hai, sharab ka nahi, isliye main sharab khud laya hu. The point is, this is Quwwa Wahamiya, to say that God has promised rizq. He has not promised me. He has not promised me wine or alcohol. Therefore, I've brought the alcohol myself because Allah is going to provide rizq. This is a person can rationalize with his Quwwa Wahamiya anything. The idea is, Imam says here must be free of deceit. And then he talks about, he said, no one can claim to a Shia except for a person whose heart does not have malice or hatred towards others. Idea of malice, of a clean heart, and whose heart, he said, is free of corruption. If this is the prescription that is expected by Imam alayhi salam, then where does our duty lie? Mu'mineen, one does not need to go into psychology and psychiatry and all kinds of gurus that have come up to say, how can you be a better person, if we can only look at the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam and the gems that we have here. Imam said, if you are not such a person, and then you claim to be our Shia, don't say I am your Shia. Just say that I am your admirer or your supporter. Mu'mineen, this is the expectation. And I quote this ayah of Surah An-Nahl, ayah number 92, that وَلَا تَكُونُ كَالَّتِي نَكَزَتْ غَذَلَهَا مِنْ بَعْدِهِ قُوَّةٍ. This is a time of muhasibah. This is a time. This ayah says, be not like the person who undoes a thread which has been spun after it has become strong. When you spin a rope, the rope becomes stronger and stronger. And he said, now do not unspin that rope. Meaning here that mu'mineen, as we bid farewell to this ashra that has passed, the 50 days and some more days will come. But the 50 days that we have passed, let each one of us open a page and do that individual muhasabah and reflect. What benefits were derived? What behaviors were changed? What good practices did I adopt? What bad habits did I relinquish? Let us go through this, each one of us. Mu'mineen, we sit here. How did it affect? How did this azah affect my body, my heart, my mind, and my soul? This is muhasibah. This is self-reckoning. Because that is the stature of Hussein. Mu'mineen, if that cannot change us, then what will? And despite having this, if we cannot, what a tragedy it would be. Because who was Hussein? There's so many ways to describe. My favorite language, Urdu, has some of the best quotes that one can find. Naseem Amrohi, I quote him. He says, Hussein, paikare insaniyat ki jaan hai tu. Hussein, paikare insaniyat ki jaan tu hai. Zameen o sabr o tahammul ka asman tu hai. Look at the lofty, to say, oh Hussein, you are the inner soul, the best of humanity, of the land of patience and fortitude. You are the highest canopy. Na sirf deen Muhammad ki izzo shan hai tu. Na sirf deen Muhammad ki izzo shan tu hai. Rae hayat mein salare karwan tu hai. Not only the religion of Muhammad, you are the upholder, but of the whole caravan of life, you are the standard bearer. This is who we are following, my young friends. Time is something that is in your favor. Use that time. Use that time to be part of this movement that Imam Hussein al-Islam created, because that is our heritage. जहां को ख्वाब फना से जगा दिया तूने, जहां को ख्वाब फना से जगा दिया तूने, बका के वास्ते मरना सिखा दिया तूने. That from the deadening sleep you have awakened the world, the idea of social justice, the idea of people waking up against evil, and you have taught us how to die for life. That is a lesson that you have taught us. This is Hussein. So, when we look at those, I leave you with this question: will we maintain that practice of a lack of deceit, of patience, of humility, of compassion, of solidarity with our fellow beings, our generosity through the year as we go through? For 50 days, we have developed, once again, an emotional relationship, and we started. Now, as we say to the Lady of Light, Bibi Fatima al-Zahra salamullahi alayha, to say, please accept this pursa of ours, O Bibi. O Lady of Light, accept these condolences for your son and your grandchildren, and for all the shuhada of Karbala, as we say, accept our pursa. Is she going to accept this? We don't know. Is she going to accept it? It's going to be what we do after the pursa has been given in terms of the reform that we bring into ourselves, into our society, and into humanity. Because Mawlai Muttaqiyan Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam has said, and I quote, And he said, and let's ponder upon this, Mu'mineen. Be concerned more over the acceptance of your deeds or the deeds themselves. Doing the deed in one thing. The acceptance of the deed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something else. I have prayed my 17 rakah during the day. Which of that one single zikr, mu'mineen, that Allah would accept, which can become our salvation, we don't know. Let us not be haughty to say that I have said my 17 rakat namaz and I've done a great favor to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He doesn't need our prayers. All we need is an acceptance by Him of one zikr, one subhanallah that comes out with khulus is something that He would accept. That is what we ask for. And indeed, Imam says, for Allah does not accept deeds except from the righteous. And he quotes the ayah of the Quran to say, did you not read Allah's statement? Surah Al-Ma'idah 5:27, that verily Allah accepts only from the muttaqeen, the righteous. So, as a guest is leaving, we tell our guest to say, oh my dear guest, you have been with us for 50 days. The month of Muharram has been our guest in this Imam Barga, in every other place. And we say that here we are in a state of muhasibah, self-reckoning, that we shall keep in touch. We will build loyalty to our guest and our friend this month of Muharram that we have passed in the Safar. How can we keep loyal to the memory of Imam Hussain? How can we stay in touch with him, mu'mineen? We have a choice. We can go back to our routines, default to our old habits, fall back into the rut that we were, or just like you reset the system, you press Control Alt Delete, and the system is reset, and we can embark on a new beginning to strive to be even better human beings for the rest of the year. We can draw a personal plan tonight as we give ahad to Abu Abdullah and say that my next year is going to be a better year in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in memory of the Muharram, in memory of the Matam that I did, in memory of the Nawha that I recited, in memory of the Pursa that I gave to Bibi Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha, in memory of the mourning that I did for Bibi Sakina salamullahi alayha. I mean, these are the times. And on a personal level, loving and hating for Allah only on the basis of what is right and what is wrong, to make meaningful contribution at a community, at a humanity level, to stand up for justice and the rights of the other persecuted people. Time does not allow me to go through all the lists, but we can make those lists. So, Mu'mineen, this is our call. And as the morning of the Arba'in, the day of Arba'in raises, the Kafala is now preparing. The Kafala is now preparing to move towards Medina. And here is Zainab. I would like to pay tribute to Bibi Zainab in just a few words. Here was this lady who had seen all her beloved male members die before her eye, including her own children, On and Muhammad. But you know, this lady never wept for On or Muhammad. This lady did not. She made sajda, as we hear. When their bodies were being brought back, she made sajda and made that shukr to say, Ya Allah, accept my qurbani, accept my sacrifice. She put a stone on her maternal instincts, and so caught up she was in the decimation of her beloved brother Hussein's family that she wept for Ali Asghar. Mu'mineen, when Hurmala shot the child's neck with an arrow enough to kill a beast. She wept for Qasim, the son of Imam Hassan, whose body was cut into pieces and trampled by horses on the killing fields of Karbala. She wept most for Ali Akbar, the 18-year-old son of Imam Hussain, who she had brought up as a child, making flour on the grinding stone. This is what she did. She wept for Abbas Alamdar. Only this brave protector was capable of taking the mightiest warrior. Mu'mineen, she kept on weeping. She wept upon Imam Hussain when he saw him fall from his horse on the 10th, and when Shimr let over the Imam's chest to decapitate him with a blunt dagger. Mu'mineen, this ashra is for Bibi Zainab Salamullahi alayha. Yesterday we heard the beautiful Marsia, which in Urdu yesterday to say Chehlum jo Karbala mein 72 ka ho chuka Momineen. Just a couple of English words for our young people to see how emotive this is, to say this. Marsia says, oh no, Bibi Zainab says, oh noble Lord of Karbala, farewell. Oh the sands that cradle his shroud, farewell. Dear grave of the noble lofty Prince, farewell. My brother, your sister departs now, farewell. This prophet's grandchildren is unfortunate indeed, for you are not pleased with her deeds. How do I face Medina, having left you here? What if the prophet questions, how can I bear? If I go to Najaf, the same question I will face. Where is Hussein? That is all I will hear. But you have asked me to leave, so how can I say? But where must I go? Where must I say? And then she says, won't you come and hold my hand as I alight? Won't you shelter me from the stranger's sights? Won't Abbas or Akbar come to bid me farewell? Won't you bring Asghar from whom everybody cries? You are our leader. Come lead us ahead. We are ready, yet you sleep the grave of your bed. Although I weep and call out your name, you do not answer, O Prince, I am amazed. If only you would embrace me now, I will leave for Medina, though never the same. And the answer comes to say, my dear Zainab, farewell. Give my love to Sugra, my daughter who is ill. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Mu'mineen, just a few more words. The journey to Medina was slow. When the city comes within sight, we hear the famous khutbah of Bibi Kulthum, where she said was her to recite this poem, oh the city of my grandfather, the Holy Prophet, how can you accept us all? Where we were so many when we left you, only to return, having at Karbala lost them all. Mu'mineen, as the caravan draws near Medina, the grief within the hearts of the women increases. And I just would like to share with you some conversations, and we will listen to that in Urdu, inshallah, to say Bibi Zainab comes to the grave of the blessed Prophet, and she says, oh my grandfather, I come pronouncing to you the news of Hussein's death. Hussein has been killed on the plains of Karbala. Oh my grandfather, you had admonished your ummah to do good to your near ones. They have disobeyed you, O my grandfather. They have killed the members of your household with a burning thrust. They killed Abbas, and when he went to get water for Sakina, they killed Ali Akbar, who looked like you. They killed my brother's son Qasim. They killed my son Son and Muhammad. They did not even leave little Ali Asghar. Oh my dear grandfather, your beloved Sakina is also gone. She died in the prison of Sham, and then she goes to the graveside of her mother. When a child is in distress, the child always turns to mothers to try and get some salvation. Bibi Zainab is going to the graveside of her mother, and she said, oh mother, we your daughters were taken as prisoners. We were paraded from one city to another. Your household was scattered in the wilderness, and we now have been made destitute. Oh mother, my body has become bruised and wounded through the cracking of the whip. And then she says, oh mother, I have brought you what you had given to me in trust, the torn, the blood-stained shirt of Hussein. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Al-Fatiha.